This podcast will talk you through the ups and downs in the entertainment industry.
Each and every one of you has a talent, but it's a tough business. People gonna tell you, get a real job.
By introducing you to sustainable, moldable methods in a crazy, cutthroat world.
Let us harness our willpower and take real action.
Don't let it get you down.
Join me, brothers and sisters, on a journey through trials and tribulations.
Unfake it till you make it.
Straight from Venice Beach, California, this is episode 20. I'm Tony Suriano, and I'm happy to welcome you to the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. Before anything, I want to ask you all who is listening, if you like the show, please leave a comment on iTunes or wherever you're listening. Let others know what you like best and why they might like it. This is the absolute best way to support the show, to keep it going. And I really thank you much in advance. In today's episode, I interview Brittany, the fire dancing girl, among many things. We have some very cool outlooks and out-of-the-box career choices in this, so stick around. And if you're new to this podcast, there's a lowdown, and here it is. I typically interviewed guests in the entertainment industry who have gone through or are going through the forever trenches to success and growth. I live to discover the conscious and unconscious superpowers each of my guests have. I love to extract these useful insights, strategies, and outlooks from their brains so I can pick and choose what I have and what I can apply to my own life and share them to you girls and guys out there so you can hopefully do the same somehow. I have a lot of fun exploring these magical people and their adventures, and I'm truly grateful to be in a place to do so. My guest today, she runs her very own fire dancing company. And if you have not seen or heard of fire dancing people, oh, you must. We talk about how she shifted from traditional college ideas to a professional DJ career, and then how it turned out she harnessed her passionate hobby into a unique career, leading several fire teams to entertain people all over the world. It's been a long journey for her, and you will hear all about it in this episode. Here we go. Please enjoy my conversation with Brittany Chandler.
Hey.
Good to have you here. Thank you so much for being on the show. And let's start out with, what does fire mean to you? What do you do with fire?
Okay, so I dance with fire. I play with fire, But basically, if you don't know what fire dancing is, we have different props that we use that obviously are on fire, and we spin them in different ways. We manipulate them in different ways. Like, fire dancing can also be called prop manipulation. So we have different fire props, like fire fans. I have like fire on my head. Fire eating. There's so many different things that are on fire and so many different props that you can do different things with. So that's kind of the art of fire dancing. And it's also open to, creative possibilities, endless possibilities, because you can get as creative as you want with the different fire props, or you can make your own. So it's really like an endless art form.
That's great. Yeah. A little backstory for people listening. I met Brittany through Joel Marsden, who reached out for her with this last production we did. And Brittany was on the stage doing amazing firework while a camera was 360 degrees spinning around her at high, deadly speeds. And the footage looks amazing. You're going to get it soon, September 13th. I got the notification. That's when everyone can have it. So that's our backstory.
I'm super stoked about that video.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I can't wait to do a couple side edits of my own with it, and I can't wait to give it to all the talent because they're going to flip out. Like you guys, it's
that
amazing.
Was actually my first 360 video ever.
Nice. Actually, mine too.
So you guys were the first one. So
yeah, it's amazing what that machine does. Okay, are you also a DJ, or do you just do that? Sometimes I saw an Instagram post with a DJ look on it.
Yeah, so I have many faces, but So yeah, I actually moved to LA to be a DJ with the guy I was dating at the time, and we're both from Memphis, Tennessee. So we're not together anymore, but we moved to LA 7 years ago, and we had a DJ duo. And I went to New York and trained at Dub Spot Academy actually, and like learned how to DJ professionally. And so we had this duo, and we did a bunch of shows in Memphis, and I would do Fire, and it was kind of like this thing for fun. And then like randomly we're just like, hey, let's move to California or Miami. So we're between Miami and California, and California was the one, Hollywood. So moved to Hollywood, and you know, my entertainment company kind of like went off a little faster than my DJ career. So that's kind of like where, yeah, so it's funny, that's kind of what got me to California. But I don't DJ as much now. I do like mostly just corporate events, but I've played all the nightclubs in Hollywood and stuff like that. So
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, I know how to DJ, and I love playing house music, and I'll DJ for fun. But
Cool.
you know, being on a stage like performing is, you know, my main passion. So
Okay. Cool. And when you're on stage, all those the choreography and the look, the wardrobe, that's all you, right?
yeah, so even if you see like 10 of us performing, then more than likely like all the routines, everything is from my head, from my brain, and all the costumes are, you know, either something that I came up with or had my seamstress make. Like, so yeah, I mean, all the creative is basically me. Like at the end of the day, like the Dancing Fire is me. So
That's great. Yeah, that LED suit that you had was amazing. Can you explain how that looks somehow?
oh my god, so I actually made that with a friend of mine. We soldered the entire suit ourselves. I got a call from Universal Studios and the TV show called Superstore. Have you heard of it?
No, but I shall look it up.
I know. I should watch more TV too. But so they called me, and they're like, we want like the coolest thing you can do for this finale, for this episode. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So we actually made those costumes in like 3 days for the show. Yeah, soldered, wired by hand, and it's for like our stilt walking robots essentially. So
So how did that work out with the creative? I mean, you had a deadline, so how did you get yourself in a great creative mood?
Right. I mean, I'm pretty crazy. Like if you want something cool and, you know, you have the budget for it, like, and it's tomorrow, then, you know, I'll do it. So I have a studio at my home, and, you know, that's kind of like my artistic space basically. So I do get ideas from things in like movies and in media. You know, you see pieces of stuff, but you have to put your own like special touch on stuff. You know what I mean? Like obviously there's robots and stuff around the world, and there's been LED robots, but the fact that mine, you know, are different, I made them and they're my design, you know, that's what makes it unique, I think. You know, and like the helmets that we made for those are like all Mohawks, so that's kind of like the Dancing Fire style is like the Mohawk helmet, the Mohawk LED helmet, you know. So
cool. So in your studio you have all the elements that you can create. I mean, give or take, you can obviously grab some new stuff, but if we went into your studio, how would it look like?
Depends on what day it is. Sometimes it's pretty messy because we're in the middle of a project, but it basically like looks like a big workshop, you know. And then if we're not working on something, then we try to keep it clean. You know, I feel like energy is good if you have like a clean slate. So instead of just having like shit piled everywhere, then I try to keep everything pretty neat, and then, you know, organized in like bins and cabinets so that it's not like cluttered and in the way. So every time we do a new project, it's like, oh, we have like a clean slate, you know. So but if we're in the middle of a project, I mean, it looks like a freaking workshop in here. Like, you know, I can LEDs and like fire stuff and like the welders going. So yeah, I mean,
great. Yeah, I know what that's like. Yeah, getting into the project and you lose time. That's good.
Yeah.
And now, what about? Do you ever get in spots? You know, writers have writer's block, but do you have any of this wardrobe block or creation block? And how do you get over that? Any things?
Yeah, I think I think the biggest challenge is like if a client's like, okay, well, we have this space to work with and it's not big enough to do what I want to do, or there's not enough money, it's usually budget or space constraints or whatever. Then you have to like be really creative on how to make something awesome with constraints. You know what I mean? Like every artist wants like millions of dollars to just make whatever's in their head, but it always doesn't work that way. So, I usually get a budget and then I get whatever the location's going to be or the space, and I have to make something awesome in that space. So that's like the biggest challenge is, utilizing what is given to you. Obviously if I had like millions of dollars, I'd love to just make shows all the time and whatever, so I think creatively, I have to think about, what my clients are spending on their show and then match that with my creativity, because I do have ideas, but they're very expensive. And it's like, if I want to use my own money, sure, I can put it together. But, I have to usually think about what clients' needs are and what they want and what's good for their event. But then I try to mold it with, the ideas that I have already, or I have ideas I've had for like 10 years and still haven't used, but they're still there, so
that's great.
Time and money.
How do you keep track of those ideas somewhere, like a notebook or a phone? What do you do? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I like to think that I can remember everything in my brain, like, all the time, and I probably should write things down. I'm not really the person that likes to write stuff down or like have like, a Word doc or whatever.
Okay.
So it's kind of just in my head, but I feel like it's not going anywhere. But they're usually like bigger picture ideas. And then if I have an idea of something I want to make, then I usually do it like pretty quickly because I'm so excited. You know what I mean? So.
Do you draft it out, any of your ideas? Do you draw, or how do you actually piece it all together?
I'm hands-on. So if it's like, okay, we're making this robot, then we make the pants, we get the LEDs, we get all the supplies, and it's like a lot of it's trial and error, When I made my fire wings, that was welding, so it's like, you're working with steel and you're putting stuff together, and sometimes you really have like no idea what it's going to look like when it's done. So it's just kind of like, let's do this, try it, see what works,
That's great.
Yeah.
I've not welded before. So you weld yourself? You have the mask and everything?
Yeah, I have a MIG welder. It also does aluminum, but...
Wow, so if I need anyone to weld something, I go to you. Maybe.
Yeah, come over. Let's do it.
Welding time. Nice. Can you talk a little bit or a lot about your company and how it grew to where it's at? Because now you have a team, you're doing really well, and things are moving a lot, I hear.
Yeah, so I'll start with a little background. So I was originally going to go to medical school and be a doctor in Memphis, where I'm from. And I went to Rhodes College there, got a master's in neuroscience, which I'm not really even using right now. But I did the whole college thing. And then, like I said, I started DJing. I fell in love with entertainment. I started my company in Memphis and 12 years ago, and I was like putting shows on for fun, and I'd sell tickets, and like, I would go to like coffee shops and put up flyers that was like the Dancing Fire, $10. You can see a whole fire show and all this stuff in downtown Memphis. So that's kind of where it started. And like, I never thought it would be my life and my company at the time. It was just kind of like a thing for fun. I saw someone do fire and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. Like this girl, her boyfriend was from Nebraska and he taught her, and she came back to Memphis and was like, oh, this is fire dancing, and basically kind of like started this community. And so I guess I've always been business minded. So I took it a step further and I made a group. And then, so that's kind of where it all started, was in Memphis. Yeah.
What was the first experience with fire as far as you performing? I mean, what was that like?
So the first show I ever did, performing-wise, was at Overton Square in Memphis. they have a big concrete stage, which is great for fire because you can't burn, you're not going to burn the concrete. So the floor is all made of concrete, the walls, it's huge. And we did a community event, like all of us fire dancers. And I had like a solo piece in the song where I did fire fans. And I have these fire fans and they like pop open. So they collapse, they're closed so they don't look like a fan. And then they open, kind of like, like Katana from Mortal Kombat or whatever.
I love that game. Yes.
I love Mortal Kombat.
Oh, man.
So, side note, this is one of my ideas I haven't done, is I want all my performers to dress like the characters from Mortal Kombat and have us all with like fire. So like fire fans and like, Scorpion has like this throwing fire thing. Like
that would be great.
Yeah.
I would go to that show. That's really cool.
So yeah, that was my first show, was at Overton Square in Memphis, and it was just like a free, community event type thing, and we just worked on it for like a month, and it was just like a fun project. So I guess that's where it all started.
Wow. And then now how's the company now compared to then? I mean, right when you started it, what's the difference?
Yeah, so then it was like everyone that was performing with me was just kind of doing it for fun. They didn't really take it seriously. Like I was making all the costumes on my sewing machine, at my house and whatever. And, just kind of like a fun thing. And then, once you start making money, you're like, oh, this is a business now. Like it converted more into a business. And when I moved to LA, I met a lot of fire dancers here and I started recruiting. And then next thing you know, it's like growing and you're doing more events and you're like, doing corporate events and private events. And, when I moved to LA, I was in like a studio apartment. It was tiny. And I had all my costumes in my living room, covering the whole freaking wall. And I basically lived in like a closet because the whole room was just props and costumes and supplies and whatever. So, I always remember that, and I'm so grateful where I am now because I'm in a house. I have a huge yard, and like, I have plenty of space, and I have a studio here, and and I still don't even have room, so I'm still like, everything's just growing very quickly, and it's great. But I think it's how much work I want to put in, because if I don't want to do something or if I'm lazy, then I don't have as many jobs. So the work is however hard I want to work and, how much I want to do. So yeah.
How do you get new clients? And I mean, how does that work? Do they find you? Do you reach out? What's your strategies?
Yeah. So my website is like #1 on Google under a lot of stuff that we do. So like if you Google like Fire Dancers LA, then more than likely like my company is going to come up. But then now that I've like established, I have my like repeat clients and, my good clients that are like, hey, we don't know if you do this, but we know you can do it and figure it out if you can, or if you don't have someone that does this, like, we know you'll find someone for us or whatever. That's how hard I work. And like our community and network is, so tight, and performance community. So now I have those established clients, and those are my repeat clients. I have clients now that I've had for 6 years, and they every year. So that's good. That's when you're doing something right. When people are coming back.
Yeah. It's important to have those repeat clients, 5 or 6, and that's your go-tos. And it's better to have quality smaller clients than a lot that are not really reliable.
You see my cat in the background?
Oh yeah. Siamese cat, huh?
Yeah, that's Akira. He keeps me sane.
Cute. So. Nice. Now, are you the only one as of now, like running the clientele and all the other stuff? And do you have plans of coming up a notch and having someone help with that, so you can perhaps, I don't know, focus elsewhere?
Yeah. So I have an assistant. And then I have like leaders of each kind of department of my company. So like of my Samba team, I have a girl that's like, head of that. And then like my Hawaiian team, I have a girl that's like head of that division. So I kind of have head of, each division. But I think for me now, since I'm growing so quickly, that I do need like, social media manager. Like I don't have time really to post on like Instagram and Facebook, and it's so important to like put your live events online now, like behind the scenes. And so I used to do it all, like, and I still do my website. I book everything. I answer every phone call, and email, and I'm kind of like, the head woman that does a lot. But over the last few years, I've started to delegate because I just can't do it all myself.
Smart, yeah.
But it's scary because it's hard for me to trust someone when they're, running. I mean, it's every business, but how can you grow if you don't have, people working with you? Like, I can't do it all,
Yeah, it's interesting, the balance. Delegation, what to delegate, what to eliminate, what to outsource, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Good stuff. There's a great to-do list called the Eisenhower Matrix, I think. And on one side it says very important, urgent, and then it says do it now. Then the other one says like not important, something else, and that says delegate. And then the other one's eliminate. And so that reminds me of that.
You need to send that.
I will send it. It's great. I've used it like months before, and then I stopped for a while, and then I realized why did I stop? This is amazing. So I will send you that. Yeah.
I feel like my do it now is going to be like everything's going to be in the do it now. Like everything needs to be done now.
Okay, and as far as what you feel has been successful with your company, what one or two things do you notice that really gets you these desired results? Is there an order? Is there like when I start a project or before I talk to a new client, I do this, and it always helps with this? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Man, that's a great question. I mean, I think just taking time to marinate on what they want, because a lot of times when a client calls you or emails you, they want to know like right away what your idea is. And it's like, I get my ideas at the most random freaking times. Like when I'm driving is when I get my ideas. I don't know why, but like, and then the other day I was getting a massage, and I had I was trying to think of something for our robots to do during the show in San Diego. And I'm like, been thinking about it for 3 days, and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm getting this massage, I'm like laying there, and all of a sudden it like came to me, and I'm like, instead of enjoying the massage the whole time, I'm thinking of like the production of this song. And it's just weird. Like,
that's cool.
And I think when you're driving, like you're focused and you can't be on your phone, you're not really talking to anyone, like that's kind of my time to like kind of let my mind go, like, or just if I'm in like my backyard and it's very quiet, like that's when things come to me, I guess. But in terms of your question, I think just, giving an artist time, like, or, whatever, to come up with a cool concept is like the most important. But, in our day and age, it's like, we want it now, right now. But it's like, hey, if I just sleep on this or give me 24 hours, like, it's going to come to me, you know what I mean?
And it'll be better and stronger. Yeah, I agree. That's good. I know when sometimes if I get clients interested, or new clients interested in something, the first thing they want to know is like, well, how much does it cost? Also based on a very broad idea. And it's a practice to be like, I'll get back to you via email in a day or maybe 2 days or something. And they're going to say yes, sure, if you just let them know that you want to do diligence and make sure you give them the best you can.
Yeah.
And I like that, the like unconscious ideas coming to you. First you're in it, you're thinking about it, and then you just take a break and you drive, or you take a break and have a massage, and then that can just snap you into it. Yeah. That's cool.
It's like, I get creative at the most weirdest times. I mean, like, I guess that's just part of being an artist. Like something inspires you, but it's never when I see something. It's always just like in a random moment, like I'm driving or like, the massage place. It's never like, oh, I went and saw a play, or I went to see a show and I came up with this other idea. It's never like that for me, which, so.
Yeah, it's a good reminder to, when you're really trying to focus so hard but you're not getting what you want, is to just step away and give yourself unconscious time somehow. So it's cool. Now, what advice would you have if someone wants to start a career, not necessarily in fire, but in something similar where they'll be running somewhat of an entertainment company and doing live performances and getting clients on board and actually transitioning from, working with a job and then getting your passion, which is your side work, into your main funnel for funds?
I definitely think that I'm a one-of-a-kind person. Like, not to say that anyone can't do it, but like, you have to be very, very motivated, and you have to want it bad. Like, I wanted it bad, and I didn't know I did until, I started loving doing events. And, it's not always about the money for me because I love it so much. Like, I was going to go to med school, like, so, and it took my mom a long time to understand what I was doing. She's like, "Oh, you're moving to LA? Like, why? I thought you were going to med school and like be a doctor." And, so there's that whole thing of like people trying to tug at you to do something else. So my like, advice for business owners, or if you're in general, or like entertainment, like just, you have to work on it every moment. Like, I would be up at like 9 a.m. and I'd work on my website until I couldn't keep my eyes open, like midnight, and I lost friends, and my relationship wasn't doing great, but like, I wanted this, and like, if people support you, then they will be there for you, like through it all. But you have to give like 150% every day, all the time, because a lot of people give up. And I think that being persistent and, keeping at it, even if you fall, like, just don't give up, because, you can do it. It takes that drive.
Yeah. And then the question is, where does that drive really come from? Have you ever thought about, why are you really pushing for this? And perhaps, so many others aren't, and they just settle with something. Where do you think it comes from for you?
So my dad passed away when I was 14, but he raised me to be a leader, and I played sports, and I was very, very competitive, and he was all about me winning. I had the best gear. I was a fast pitch softball pitcher, like all-star team. Nobody really knows that, but
cool.
I grew up in sports, and I was very competitive, and I was raised to be competitive and like to win and to give your best, and I was a really good athlete. So I think, like, this is my theory, but that has a lot to do with my business mindset, and also as a leader. Like, in college, I was always the one that wanted to have the party and, be in charge of this thing. And I never knew it like had anything to do with where I'm at now, but
it all adds up. Yeah.
Right. And, so that was like kind of my personality, was just being really competitive. And so I think like being the best I can be and the best in my industry, that is what drove me to really grow my company, because I want to be the best fire dancing company in the world. Like, that's what I want to be known for. And whatever I have to do to get there, I want to do. So yeah.
Huh. That's very good. Yeah, I could see everything adds up from before and where you want to go. And if you allow that one thing, like that sport drive, to carry over to the next thing. I was hearing something from someone recently, that if you just get one thing really good and you're disciplined in one thing, it carries over in all your other things in life. And it's got to be true, because with me, I've found that. It sounds like with you too. And it's something to always remember. Like, hey, I did that. It was really disciplined. It's like, I can apply that to this.
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it sounds like that's the type of person it takes to succeed and get stuff going. You can't let things or people stop you. You gotta just do late nights and remember why you're doing it, right? And
yeah.
Now, have you had that time where you were close? You're like, I think I'm gonna kind of give up, or I'm gonna maybe take a hiatus. And then how did you say, wait a minute, why would I do that? No, I'm gonna drive forward.
I think every artist has like this time where, I don't know, it's not like depression, but it's like every artist has this time where they just did a huge event, and you know, it's like you're coming, like when I do events, they just give me this natural like high, natural euphoria. And I think like after a big event, sometimes I'm like down because I'm like, I don't know, because I just did something amazing. So it's like, I want to do it again, but when is it going to be or whatever. So I think that's when it's important, because, you know, I get distracted, or I'm like, oh, I want to go out of town. And the next thing I know, like 2 weeks have gone by and I've barely worked on my marketing or whatever. So it's like, you know, it's the balance of having fun in life and then also staying on track with what your dreams and your goals are. Yeah,
definitely. If I went with you on a gig, I was shadowing you, like what would you have me do? I mean, I know it's kind of hard because you're going to be live, but pretend it doesn't matter if anyone sees me shadowing you.
I would have you do fire safety, because that's the closest you can get to me doing fire. And then also, like, you're kind of in the line of fire, because like after we do a fire show and we're putting something out, then like the fire safety puts out the prop or whatever. So I'd probably have you stand like right by the fire safety. Like, I mean, obviously you're not trained, so I couldn't have you do the safety, but you know, we can pretend you are, and I can have someone like in a bush, you know, doing the real safety. But I think that'd be fun for you, actually. So
interesting. Okay.
I don't know. Do you like bossing people around? Because I could definitely have you wrangle some performers.
That's all I have to say.
All right.
Okay. Now, what about so far? And it could be in the company or something, a performance specifically. What were some big mistakes you've made that taught you like the lesson of the lifetime?
Big mistakes I've made. I pour my heart out to people like a little too quick sometimes, or I'm very quick to tell my ideas to everybody. And so I've had situations where I've told people my creative ideas and they take them and they do them and they act like they did. And like, it's like, really? I mean, and that happens a lot in our industry, because you have all these creatives and it's like, you know, what do you copyright or do, you know, whatever. So I think that is probably one of the mistakes early on, is that I told too many people too many details and too many things. And yeah.
I used to feel that way with ideas early on, where like I was with, let's say, someone, we were talking about a project and we would kind of joke. She'd be like, "Hey, keep it down. Like, you know, we're in Hollywood. People might be listening over your shoulder." And I would kind of keep it down. But after I don't know, after some years passed and hearing some things from different people, I kind of realized that it's okay to share your ideas, because it does take a lot of effort to actually execute ideas. Most people aren't going to just execute your idea most of the time.
Right.
And if they do, they're never going to do it the way you're going to do it. One.
I love you.
Two, if they do it somehow and it's authentic in their own way, it's like at least the idea was done. I don't know. There's ways to think about it that I've learned.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, and now I still tell people my ideas, but I guess like I don't try to put my feeling and like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you should. We should trust the person. I mean, that's always a good idea, to trust the people with ideas. Yeah. Now, okay, what about when all this can be so overwhelming, right? You have a business, you have to perform, you have to make clothes, you have to do the choreography. And when and how do you recharge? How do you deal with it, zoom out of it all?
Right. It is really hard to get me to stop. Like, I'm like the Energizer Bunny. And so, you know, obviously you have to sleep. But there's been times where I've just like, you know, I'm so exhausted and I have to sleep. And like, you know, if it's like a big project. So, and you just have, like, you're limited by like your human, you know, limitations. So for me, the best way for me to chill out is to go out of town, because if I'm like in my studio, or if I'm at home, or I'm like anywhere where I'm going to be creating, I'm going to get distracted. I'm just going to like want to work on that. So to get me to chill out, like I got to go to a beach. I go to Mexico a lot.
Nice.
I love going to concerts, like live music. I'm a huge Widespread Panic fan. I've been seeing their shows every show this year. So that's kind of like my new thing is like go to a show or see another artist, or, I'm a beach girl. So that kind of like chills me out, but I have to take myself out of Hollywood because everyone here is creating and I feel like that competitive nature is feeding my drive. And so I have to kind of take myself out of LA to chill out. I mean, I exercise and that works too, but like if I need like a week break or whatever, like me going out of town is my, that's my like zen stuff. So
yeah. Now, do you plan when that happens, or do you just it gets too exhausted and you're like, all right, I need to leave, or do you kind of set a balanced time when to do it?
Right. I mean, it never gets too exhausting to where like I'm having a nervous breakdown or whatever. Like that doesn't happen. Like my time management skills are really good. The times that I can leave are like when I don't have a huge event, because I book events all the time and I'm not at all of them. Like I have a really good, strong team now to where I can be like, okay, I'm going out of town next weekend. I have 8 events happening, but my girls are so good and my guys, like they've all worked together. And for me for a while now that it's like, I can leave and know that they're going to rock it, like kick ass, whatever, while I'm gone. And I can be like comfortable, like walking away, so it's taken a while to get like my core team of like I trust performers and whatever, and now that I have that, I can like take a break when I need to, when there's not a big event or project, and and so so it's usually last minute or random, but so yeah.
And so you've developed a lot of these relationships, and that it's so important to have your teams to have a good relationship with them to get the results you want. So how have you dealt with people, and what are any key things you've learned to keep people happy without you being fake or anything like that?
Sure. I'm a giver, and I sometimes put people first before me, and that's, that can be bad. So it's like I put myself in other people's shoes a lot, and I treat them how I'd want to be treated, So it's been hard as a business owner to, you become friends with people, and when you have to being, friend and the boss, it can get hard. It's like, hey, you're not doing your job right, but you don't want to feel like a butthole saying it because they're your friend. But it's like, that's been a challenge, the line between like working with people all the time, and because it's fun what we do. And I do consider, my performers my friends. And so that can be a challenge. But yeah, you just have to find that balance. But everyone that I work with now, knows what I want and knows what they have to do and knows how to make everything good. And when you have a good gig, everything's good. Like, clients are coming back. You're getting more gigs as a performer. I'm getting more work. So, everyone now that works with me, like they want to succeed too. And I think that's what's really made my company successful. You have your bad apples and you just have to say good, you have to say bye. And there's hundreds of performers that want to work and that are driven and on time and motivated. So, there's a lot of dancers out there that want to do what we do.
So when you do have someone that is giving you too much headache, how do you fire? How do you do that? Like, is there any way that you do it, and has it kept to like a mutual happiness, or do they get all crazy on you and you just have to like have the peace within?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened either way, and that's honestly something that like, I'd love to talk to someone in business that could tell me how to deal with problems. Because I've dealt with some, but like, I don't know the best way to do it sometimes. And you have to not let your emotions get into it too much, because like, if I'm like the boss and I'm like all mad and I'm like yelling at somebody, like that's not really helping the situation. You know what I mean? Like, and I've never done that, but I can definitely say like on text message, I've been like a little like more pissed or like, why did you do this? And it's like, you have to really look at it from, like, you just have to like analyze what's going on and see how you can fix it and not let your emotions come into it. Like, oh, you're a bitch or whatever. So, I would never say that to someone, but it's like, you want to like yell and be mad if someone messes up, but it's like, how can you fix it and prevent it from happening in the future?
Yeah, that's the end goal. How is it going to be good for both people and avoid problems? So if you remember that, then you can approach it differently maybe. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm scary because like some people like don't want to tell me if something went down, and then like I'll hear about it like a month later and they're like, I'm just like, why didn't you just tell me? Like, I'm really nice, but I guess everyone's like scared of their boss. But
do you have a monthly email you send out kind of recapping what's happening, how to improve, or any meeting with people sometimes, your teams?
Yeah, that's a good idea, and that's probably something I should do. It's very hard to get 40 people in a room together in LA. Everyone's working, they're busy. It's hard to even schedule a rehearsal that everyone can come to. Our rehearsals are really late. They're usually at 10:30 at night, or they're really early in the morning because people are busy. They have like, everyone in LA is just so busy. So a meeting is hard, but I do like emails, group emails are great. I mean, group texting, if it's like if it's a specific amount of 10 people, because I think you can only do like 10 or 12 people on like iPhone groups. So, but I should have more meetings and stuff. But the good thing is I haven't had a ton of issues, so I don't have to have like,
Yeah, I mean, too many meetings that they're not good. But I was just curious if here and there you do that, or maybe if you, I guess you've had your team for a while, but I would imagine when you first started a team, like maybe a small one, did you give an overall outlook of like your ideas, and you clearly kind of say, this is how I think things work? You have there's 5 of you, 1 of me, this is kind of the outlook. I mean,
I used to do it to where I would treat everyone in our group like me. Like, everyone's a boss, everyone's this. And that was like years ago. But I realized that doesn't work, because if you have 5 leaders, you don't get anything done, because everyone wants to put in their 2 cents.
Yeah.
And like, that's happened, and that's hard for me because I'm a leader, but I like being a team player. But I've had to learn that sometimes I just have to say, hey, my way or the highway on this one, because decision has to be made quickly, and I don't have time for everyone's opinion, and I have to make a decision fast. So I do like input, and I love when, dancers and stuff give me input. I love it because I can't think of everything, but I feel like sometimes if a decision has to be made, usually it's easier if just like, the head person makes it, because, otherwise it's like, it starts this like argument or like ongoing, like, oh, maybe this way or maybe that way. So, I usually do try to get everyone's like opinion on something, but then, I'm usually obviously the one that's like making the final decision. So yeah, there's kind of like a balance in there, when you're.
Do you give somewhat of a speech that you just gave to them like that, or how do you make sure? Let's say it's a newer group, or I don't know, someone that doesn't know the deal. How do you approach it to make sure they do know, like, I need to make the decisions, there's too many opinions, but I like input, but this is the deal.
Right. So when you start working for me, now I have a policy you have to sign, and it basically says like your etiquette, like what's expected of you at a job. But, when someone's new for working for me, like I usually have to be there when they start working for me. Like, I don't just sign people on and then, let them go on their way. I have to get to know you and see if your personality fits with my company, and your like vision and your morals and your the way that you act and present yourself, it's consistent with my values.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. And so a lot of people that work for me are referrals. Like, because I know that if someone that, like one of my performers, like Amber, I know if Amber tells me, hey, this new girl, like, I've known her for a few years and she'd be a great fit. Like, I know she wouldn't send me anyone that wouldn't be like the Dancing Fire material. You know what I mean? So, usually like anyone that's like come new to my company has been a referral from someone that already works for me, or, like someone that I've met or like trained that's a friend of a friend or something. So I guess that's kind of how you keep everything, in the family and stuff.
Makes sense.
But I think just getting to know performers, and some performers don't have to have they don't have to be chatty. They can just come and rock out their thing that they do, and they put on their costume and they perform and they do an awesome job and everyone's happy and they leave, and, they don't have to be my best friend, but if they deliver their act, that's great. And that's sometimes easy, that, because we deliver a great show and, that's what we're focused on. So, yeah.
I see. And what about your favorite resources for your field? Is there any go-to places, whether it's inspiration or thoughts, advice, or strategies to make things work?
You mean like in terms of like choreography and producing shows?
Sure, or something that you maybe, like, I know if I'm writing some kind of script or something, I will turn to this one website, or I always revisit the 8 plot points for a script or something. I'd read it. I'd always find this one. I never remember the website, but when I search it, I really like it. And it sets me, it like primes the pump. It allows me to get and dive into a project. So I don't know, is there any websites that kind of motivate you or kind of give you a good outlook? Let's say you have a really busy week or stressed week. Is there anything you could recommend for some people to check out, or things you'd like to share?
I think going to some of these flow jams or fire spinning festivals, like, to get motivated, like, and learn about fire and all that stuff, I think is the best way to do it. Because, like, you can watch videos and there's tutorials on like how to spin poi or whatever, but there's like regional, it's called a flow art, because that's kind of what, like, it's FLOW, so Flow Arts Festival. Or a flow art or a spin jam. We call them spin jams because we spin props and it's like freestyle and like, so if you want to get involved with like fire or like performance, then that would be the best way to do it. And like some of the spin jams, like you're not lighting anything, there's no fire, it's just like people have their hula hoops or their poi or their fans or whatever, and they're just kind of like jamming out, and it's really casual. Usually there's like drummers or a DJ. So that's always like a good place to go because it takes you out of the stage element and puts you in more of like a casual kind of freestyle, like, environment. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I could see that. I know live performing always gives some energy that I think for anyone is beneficial. Yeah. Nice. So where can people see some of your fire, hire you, websites? Why don't you let us all know about that?
Yeah, so thedancingfire.com is my website, and phone numbers are on there. So we're open 24 hours. So you can call us anytime. A lot of my clients email because they have, a date and an idea in mind, and then we usually set up like a conference call or whatever. So, that's a good place to start. Our Instagram, we put a lot of footage from like live events, and our stories has like behind the scenes. So if you don't know like what kind of entertainment you want, or you're just like what's out there, then like our Instagram is definitely the best way to go, because that's like the easiest for us to, add media to quickly.
And that's at the Dancing...
the Dancing Fire, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right, great. Anything else, any other places you're visible on the socials?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything.
Okay.
Like you think of. So we don't update our Facebook as much, and then like, obviously our website, but I definitely would say our Instagram and our Facebook like are the two best pages. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I have a couple more questions before we wrap. And one of them is, what would you, and you could take some time, what would you have written on your tombstone?
Good. Okay. Work hard, play hard.
Oh, wow. That was fast. That's good.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
what my dad always said.
Yeah?
And I think that encompasses me greatly. I think, yeah.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
And let's see. What about one word you're working on, or you could think of, like, you'd really want to work on right now, or whether it's patience or anger? Anything comes to mind?
Sleeping.
Sleeping. That's a great one. Yeah, you mentioned you have the sleepless nights sometimes.
Relaxing. I think relaxing is hard for me to do. I don't like to just sit. I can't just like meditate. So I think relaxing and just kind of taking a break is definitely something I'm working on. So.
Yeah, I agree with myself as well. I sometimes go and visit my sister and just to hang out and catch up, and I feel sometimes, I mean, it's a little more in my past, but still I go over there and I'm like, I should be doing something productive, and I feel really antsy. Right. And I got to remember that it's okay to not do, right?
Right. It's going to be there, like when we're done, yeah.
Okay, and here's my last question. Anything you'd like to tell the audience, the listeners, maybe some step they can take with them now that could help them progress with their passions in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, I would say don't give up. Like, if you're one of those people that's going to auditions and trying to make it in Hollywood, like, don't let people tell you no. Just keep doing it. And if you're not doing something right, or if you're getting a lot of no's, then you're not doing something right. So reevaluate your approach. And I feel like in person and personable things you can say to people is the best way to go. Like, I have people send me audition emails all the time, and they're like, oh, well, I'm amazing at this and blah, 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 or whatever. But, like, cut to the chase, make your subject line of your email, like, fire dancer that has pyrotechnics on her head. Like, that's what I would do. So, get straight to what you do. Be as real as you can, and just be very persistent and don't give up. And, and get in front of people, get in their face. And so they see your face, not get in their face. Like, you know what I mean? Get in front of them. And, if something isn't working, then you have to adjust. The industry's changing all the time. And, if something isn't working, then you need to reformat your plan.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. If something's not working, you have to adjust, or you will be left behind or overlooked.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. I really appreciate your time. It was fun talking with you. And I look forward to delivering your beautiful fire footage very soon.
Awesome. We'll have to do a session where we just tell like stories about shows or something.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you know what? So you mentioned something about your hair caught on fire once on stage.
Yeah.
Can you actually do one last quick story about that?
Yeah. So we were doing an event at University of Memphis, and I had my photographer come. But anyway, so like the end of my hair, which I have really long hair, so the end of my hair had it caught fire, and hair doesn't go up in flames like it does in the movies. Like, that's all like staged. So my hair caught at the end, and it was just like dangling on fire, and I'm like just dancing around, like didn't even feel it. And then my safety assistant like rushes in and puts it out really quick, and then, it goes away, no big deal. But I just saw the photo after, and it was just so funny because it's like literally like my hair's flying and the end's on fire, and it's just like hilarious. But it was such a good show, like I didn't even care, but
I want that photo. Please send it to me.
Yeah.
So no, but when you did that, and did that give you any fear about continuing with fire, or you're just like, nah, I don't care, that's just what happens?
I've only been burned once, and it was very minor, and it was like on my stomach when I first started. And your adrenaline is going like so fast when you're performing that, like, it's scary. Like, if something happened, like your adrenaline's just going, and so your pain tolerance is higher. So but I think now I don't do anything that I know that I can't do on stage. Like if we're doing a test at rehearsal or we practice new ideas, like, but I never do anything where I'm like iffy on stage because I don't want to get hurt, and nobody wants to see anybody get hurt or like, and I don't want people to be scared of fire. So, I'm just very safe. And when we want to do a new idea, we rehearse it, we test it, we do it from all angles, and like we have our safety people with CO2 extinguishers, and so yeah, I wasn't worried, but like that's why we have safety assistants. They're watching every move you make, and if they see something funky, then they're gonna run in. So yeah, have a great safety.
Damn, that would be, I don't know, my hair on fire, that'd freak me out. That would really freak me out. Well, okay, well, thank you for the anecdote, and now I will bid you adieu. Have a wonderful day, and weekend's coming up kind of soon, so have a great one too.
Awesome.
Just a reminder, guys, like every episode, most things we mention by name will be in the show notes section on our website, unfakeittillymakeit.com. If you like the show, please show your support and leave a review, make my day, and let me know what you like best. Time is running out, so I thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank you for listening to the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. For detailed sources and show notes for this episode, visit www.unfakeittillyoumakeit.com. Until next time, get up, get going, and get creative.